Ladies and gentlemen, warm welcome to today's video with me, Philip Raineby, the Stuttering rhetorician, your public speaker who's public speaking coach. And today we are reviewing Jay Shetty, a guy that I think has one of the smoothest voices. And the reason why he's having such a lovely voice is because he almost speaks in melodies. And when you speak in melodies, it becomes very easy to follow. The language you're using is very memorable. And he's not only speaking in melodies, but he's using rhetorical devices to enhance that melody. And today we're looking at some of the devices that he uses, so that you can learn how you can use it to your benefit. Jay Shetty is famous for being a previous monk that is now a social media guru and genius, and of course motivational speaker. He has appeared on numerous of talk shows. He has been crafted with the Best Speaker Award, and we're going in detail to analyze and review the rhetorical devices that he uses.
So I studied behavioral science at business school. I love tapping into why we do what we do and why we think the way we do and why we make certain decisions.
Right there in the beginning, we have a rhetorical device called anaphora, which is a rhetorical device where you are repeating a word or several words in the beginning of your presentation. Let's listen to that one more time.
So I studied behavioral science at business school. I love tapping into why we do what we do and why we think the way we do and why we make certain decisions.
Why we do what we do, why we think the way we do, and why we are making. So he's repeating the phrases of why and ending in different words, but the beginning is still the same. So that's an anaphora.
How many of you have your left thumb placed over your right thumb? So in some parts of behavioral psychology, that means, keep your hands up, that means that you're extremely, extremely intelligent, right? You can look around and check with the people next to you. You can verify with your colleagues, see if that's right.
This is called flattering with your audience, where you are giving them compliments and praising them. Flatter the audience is a quite nice skill to use because it makes them like you more when you are praising them or complimenting them, and also adding this comedic touch and making them laugh and you are laughing. The atmosphere between you and the audience becomes very, very nice. However, it is quite a thin line between flattering someone and make them suspicious of you. Because we all been there, we've gotten compliments for someone, and if it doesn't feel 100% genuine, we're starting to question this person's motives. So when you're delivering a presentation, make sure you have prepared your flatter and tried it before on friends or family or someone who, perhaps a coach, so that you can get an indication that your flatter will come off on the right side. Because you don't want to make people suspicious about your motives, because that will make them be more critical of you, and that in turn is bad for your speech.
You all look silly. We did that because so much of our lives today are separate, disconnected. We have left and right, black and white. We have things.
Really emphasizing the message disconnected by using his hands in a gesture that's symbolizing that word, disconnected. When he finishes, he closes his body language like this.
So much of our lives today are separate, disconnected.
Whenever you want to show that you are confident on stage, never close your body language like this. Never put your hands in your pocket, behind your back. Let your arms rest when you are not using them to speak. Do not close your body language, because that is a sign of nervousness.
That we love to do, with things that we have to do, with things that we look forward to and can't wait for, then there are things that we wish we quite frankly never had to do.
This is called the ladder, the staircase, or climax. Because when you are building up your speech like this, in the rule of three, you are using 3 successive sentences that begin with anaphora or epiphora, and you are going up in your volume. That is building up to a climax or creating a ladder staircase. And what this shows is that you are coming to your point. And when you are preparing people, that you are coming to your conclusion, and that your conclusion will, that is a staircase or a ladder. It comes to a climax. And that is creating focus. So use the staircase rhetorical device when you want to create focus, and when you want people really to pay attention of what's going to happen here at the top. Use successive sentences with perhaps anaphora and epiphora, and make sure that you are increasing your volume as you're going up to the climax. Let's see Jay Shetty use this technique, staircase, ladder and climax, one more time.
Things that we love to do, with things that we have to do, with things that we look forward to and can't wait for.
That increases the volume.
But frankly, never had to do. And then we have this thing called work. Then we have this thing called life. We have this thing called family. We have this thing called friends. And this constant disconnect, disharmony in our life.
It's actually using visual aid here. When you're talking about separate things or multiple things in the same phrase, make sure you use visual aid, perhaps a prop or your hands, to visualize that you are talking about separate things that perhaps is coming to a conclusion later. As he does, he's put his hands together like this. And
thing called work. Then we have this thing called life. We have this thing called family. We have this thing called friends.
This is a great way of how to use your functional gestures, but also how to use them as a visual aid in your communication.
And about ourselves. How many of you have ever been told by your boss that you're too slow? How many of you have ever been told, don't look at that. How many of you have been ever told by your boss that you're too bossy? And you're thinking, yeah, right, you know? How many of you have been ever told that you...
Here he is using informal language. Yeah, right. That creates a bond with your audience. Whenever we're doing a presentation, it tends to be quite formal. We're speaking in a specific way, we're using rhetorics and communication that we perhaps wouldn't use in the same way when we are having a normal conversation. But when you add informal language, informal communication within your speeches, it becomes easier for the audience to bond with you, because they are perceiving you as someone that they would normally talk to. So when you want to bond with your audience, make sure you add some informal languages if you're talking to a group where you would use informal language. This becomes a great way to create a stronger bond with the audience.
Annoy other people when you work really fast and diligently. Yeah, everyone's heard these things. This is your opportunity to unlearn what you've been told about yourself. So what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to answer 2 questions based on a reflection of your own self. Not how you are at work, not how people perceive you, not how people think about you, but how you think about.
This is a great example of how to use an anaphora. Not how you are at work, not how people perceive you, not how people think about you. This is a typical example of how to use an anaphora, and it also builds up the speech in a really nice way that creates focus. So look at your speeches at home and see where is it appropriate to add anaphora and epiphora. You can't add them everywhere, but add them to the places where you really want to make a statement. And maybe you can use anaphora and epiphora to create a ladder and end with a climax to really state your point. These are some great examples of how Jay Shetty uses rhetorical and stylistic devices in order to really make his message heard. Because the more rhetorical devices that you use, the more you will spice up your speeches, make it more memorable, more entertaining, and more interesting to listen to. Use these rhetorical devices and the many more that exist when you want to spice up your speech, convey your message, and communicate with confidence. And also learn from the use of melody when you are speaking. Your voice will become very smooth to listen to. It becomes very enjoyable. But when you are also raising your voice and stating something important, that will create focus. And when you go down and slow down in your speech, this creates a dynamic, and this is why we enjoy listening to public speakers, because the way that they are using their voice is not often something that we hear in normal conversations. They are using their voice in a flexible and dynamic way to create attention. And if you can learn that, then you will get ahead, not only in your life, but also in your career and professional life. That was all from me, the stuttering rhetorician, public speaker and public speaking coach. Make sure that you subscribe for this channel for more upcoming content and educational videos in rhetoric and communication and public speaking. And I will see you all next time.